So there was a crazy dream I had about 7 years ago. I remember it being a short work day because about a week before my fiance and I decided that this day we would be married. We knew each other since high school and dated each other for about 4 years and 4 years after we graduated. So she, we decided that it was time to take it to the next level. Now, the whole standing in front of someone marrying you into a legal document is a scary thing. It's one thing to marry someone into a church, but another where you can actually be judged by the law. Sheesh. No, but that day was definitely a day to remember. The other significant part of the day was actually during nightfall. And this night was peculiar because it's not like we went off and went on a great honeymoon to anywhere, say like Hawaii or anything. No, it was the part where we actually drifted off into dream. What's even more interesting is that the dream I had that night didn't resemble anything I thought of during the day. I remember we just were walking. I was walking in a wooded area I had never been before in any of my waking moments. And this wooded area had a path, but it seemed to never end. Like most dreams, there's a scene that just appears. I walked upon a little bit of a clearing, and in that clearing was a house. Now, this house was predominantly made out of wood. It didn't appear like it was old or anything. It looked new or renovated, something like one of those modern up-to-date cabins that would appear on HGTV or something. Something most average people like me couldn't afford. In that house were my two grandmothers. Now, one of my grandmothers had passed away a long time ago. We had to have lost her maybe about 15 to 20 years ago. And while I remember her from time to time, it was only through the eyes and mind of a child. Now, the other grandmother I saw in the dream had, unfortunately, just passed like a week ago at that time. And while she lived much longer than my other grandmother, I only remember her through the eyes of a teenager. Well, they were both in my dream inside of the house that I spoke of, and I viewed them from the outside looking through a window. Suddenly, one of them just disappeared. Now, the grandmother that stayed was the one that bore my last name. She didn't speak to me directly, or at least she didn't use her mouth when speaking to me, but she did somehow speak to me. My grandmother, with my father's last name, was packing a suitcase with clothes. So I asked her what she was doing and where she was going. She just packed the suitcase and walked to the outside porch down the stairs. The stairs led to a backyard with a large space and a huge tree. Now this tree was, it was humongous. And as she pointed to it, it had a space at the top where it just lit up. It was like lightning struck it, illuminating part of the tree. And after peering at the tree for some time, I noticed she begins to leave. And at that moment, I decided to yell at her, saying, "Grandma, wait, Grandma, I got married. Grandma, I just got married and I want you to meet her. You see, a new Mrs. Lead exists. Grandma, wait, I love you." But then she vanished. And as I turned, I just fell to the ground. And as I fell, it was like something just pulled me there for a moment. It was like gravity decided to keep me there. And I was just bawling. I was just crying my eyes out. Because I knew she was only a few minutes away from speaking to her before she passed. I could have called her at any time, even if it was just for a few minutes, or I could have taken some time off to go visit her. You see, after my father passed, it just seemed like we lost touch. And after shedding my tears, something just picked me up. As I was slowly standing up, it was almost as if something else was lifting me up as well. As I was standing, I was just trying to get balance And suddenly, it was like my body received a quickening. My body then lit up with a quickening that was either from the emotional lightning I experienced from seeing my grandmother for the last time, or it was from something else. As I rose, my body began to hover above ground and my arms stretched out. The feeling was almost like I received something I never had. It was almost like either I received something I never had, or the lightning ignited something within me. It had charged something I already had. After I placed my feet on solid ground again, I began walking back home through that forest. And as I was contemplating the last meeting I would have with either of my grandmothers, a team of very large men were waiting at a distance. Now, these men were standing in the middle of the path I was walking down. And these men, whom I've never seen before in my life, either while awake or in my dreams, didn't seem to have any intentions on removing themselves from my path. And as I felt my anger begin to kick in, because even though I was walking a path I had never witnessed before, somehow I knew I was supposed to continue. And so my fists began to clench, and I said to them, either you move or I remove you. Either way, you will not touch my family. Now, the interesting thing about this confrontation was that I do not recall my fiance being in the dream, but it was almost as if she appeared and I had to keep her out of harm's way. Now, one thing I've learned this far, whether in my waking life or through dreams, is that when new trouble stares you down in order to halt your travel, and you have no idea how to confront it, fear will kick in. Should that fear make you run back to what you just came from, any aspirations you may have in crossing the other side of that bridge of confrontation is now slim to none. No matter how long you wait for the trouble to dissipate, that trouble will be waiting for you with a toll you never expected to pay. But I also know that coming this far in my journey, I cannot afford to go back to the way things used to be, because they have either gotten worse, or the place it used to be, no longer exists. You see, I remember a time I was chilling with my old buddies many years ago, and there was this one young woman who I wasn't that particularly close to, but was part of the same circle of friends I hung out with. She pulled me to the side. She said, "Lance, come over here for a moment. I want to speak with you." So I did. She said to me, "One day you get tired of us and you'll decide to move on with your life." Naturally, my response was like, "What?" She said, "You move on. Mark my words." It was the most unrelated, unthinkable things I've ever heard from anyone I spent time with. So I just shrugged it off. As my thoughts shifted back to the present moment, I said to myself, "Okay, Lance, you may not know what is beyond this point of trouble, but you do know your destiny awaits. Your family's destiny awaits. Lance, your destiny and the destiny of your family is at stake." And as I continue to walk forward, hands clenched, teeth grinding, trouble inviting me with their eyes glowing with infrared beams, hoping to pierce my heart at any moment that I show vulnerability. Out of nowhere, one by one, a team of people just appeared, walking on both sides of me. This team, without hesitation, came to assist in the removal of my troubles ahead. And like a voice, I heard someone say, "Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, for I am with you." And as I continue to walk and believe, I continue to walk and believe, those troubles just disappeared. Eventually, so did the team that were walking with me. Or did they? By the way, the young woman who told me that I would move and I would move on, she was right. I did. While I do not feel any malice or anything with her or my old friends, I just believe we had our time together, and our destinies have just woven paths that we no longer tread on together. Still, the love is there. I wish them the best as we try and figure out our lives. I'm sure we meet again in this lifetime or the next. And I used to look at my grandmother's passing in that dream, and her packing up in that dream to mean that she was leaving. But now, I see that she was packing up my clothes to tell me that I was leaving. I was just beginning my journey. My family and I were beginning our journey. It was our time. It's our time. This time is ours.